I'm making this recording here for the sake of some fun education regarding the wonderful hip-hop act Digable Planets and their magnificent 1994 album Blowout. Digable Planets is an American hip-hop trio formed in 1987. The trio is composed of rappers Ishmael Butterfly Butler, Mariana Ladybug Mecca Vieira, and Craig Doodlebug Irving. The group is notable for their contributions to the subgenres of jazz rap and alternative hip-hop. Butler and Irving met in Philadelphia in the late 1980s. Originally from Seattle, Butler was interning at Sleeping Bag Records in New York and would visit his grandmother in Philadelphia, where he met local native Irving, who was rapping with a group called the Dread Poets Society. Irving had in turn met Vieira, who was originally from Silver Spring, Maryland, while attending Howard University in Washington, D.C. The initial demos recorded under the name Digable Planets featured only Butler, but after a brief stint with two other members, Butler began collaborating with Irving and Vieira in 1989. The group signed to Pendulum Records in 1992, and all three band members moved to Brooklyn, New York. Their debut album, Reachin', a new refutation of time and space, was released in 1993 and certified gold by the Recording Industry Association of America, IIAA. The album's lead single, Rebirth of Slick, Cool Like Dat, became a crossover hit, peaking at number 15 on Billboard magazine's singles chart, earning gold certification by the RIAA and winning Best Rap Performance by a Duo or Group at the Grammy Awards. The track peaked at number 67 in the UK singles chart in February 1995. Now, the group's second album, Blowout, was released in 1994. The album was noted by critics as a stark departure from the previous album, being darker, less hook-oriented, and more overtly political in its references to Black Panther and communist imagery. Writing for Spin in December 1994, Craig Marks declared it a beguiling, demanding, damn near revolutionary follow-up. Blowout features guest appearances from artists Jeru the Damaja, Sulaiman, and Guru of Gangstar. In the same year, the group appeared on the Red Hot Organization's compilation album Stolen Moments, Red Hot plus Cool. The album, meant to raise awareness and funds in support of the AIDS epidemic in relation to the African American community, was heralded as Album of the Year by Time magazine. The band subsequently disbanded in early 1995, citing creative differences. To read out more information about Blowout itself, the album was written and recorded in Brooklyn, New York, where the group moved, with recording sessions beginning in 1993 and finishing in 1994. Digable Planets abandoned the radio-friendly style of their debut album and worked with a more ambitious, stripped-down sound. The album features a diverse range of samples and live instruments, and contains lyrical themes of the inner city and black nationalism. On Digable Planet's 1993 debut album, Reachin', a new refutation of time and space, the group used many references to insects. These concepts were inspired due to insects' nature to stick together and work for mutually beneficial causes, which the group saw as a useful principle for African Americans and low-income communities. However, they abandoned these concepts on Blowout, with group leader Ishmael Butler articulating all the insect concepts and imagery was out of there by the time we did Blowout. I felt that it got misconstrued, kind of like De La Soul and the Daisies. Blowout was a natural expansion of what Digable Planets were reaching for in the first place, but Shallow Ears got lost. Ishmael Butler then changed his group name from Butterfly to Ish, Marianne Vieira changed her group name from Ladybug to Mecca, and Craig Irving changed his group name from Doodlebug to C-No. Black Moon's Enter Dust Stage 1993 and Wu-Tang Clan's Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers 1993 have both been credited for changing Digable Planets' post-Reachin' direction. In late 1993, Digable Planets moved from Philadelphia to Fort Greene, Brooklyn, where they all lived in the same neighborhood. Ishmael explained New York City, New York was literally a mecca for rappers, so he went there and did it. Just the visceral energy. You walk outside, and even if there's 20 inches of snow, somehow the city is rockin' and rollin'. I just approached it bright-eyed, like when I'm of age, I'm going to New York. Rakim, he sounded like New York, so I'm going there. At an early age, I had a sense that if you were going to rap, you had to go to New York if you were going to really do it. While in Brooklyn, the group was heavily involved in the community, which they aimed to capture on Blowout, making it a Brooklyn album and a Brooklyn soundtrack. Borough Check, featuring Guru from Gangstar, was one of the first songs recorded for the album and is an ode to Brooklyn. It was stated that while in Brooklyn, the Digable Planets absorbed and rocked the many styles of speak, gear, smoke, and sound that New York had to offer, and incorporated the various shades into a stance that was strangely celebratory, wary, indulgent, and subversive. Blowout had a higher record budget, with more musical ambitions, which sought to utilize different samples and sounds that were uncommon at this time, as the group viewed most other hip-hop artists' music as recycled. The album has been illustrated as a block party, but transformed by Digable's ghettopoesis into a cool abstraction of street life, and a motley clash of sounds that celebrate boombox, batteries in the freezer, ghetto ingenuity as a raw, empowered expression. While on a world tour in support of their album Reachin', the group collected vinyl records from various countries and formed a deep rapport with various musicians they were performing with. Both of these factors influenced the overall sound of Blowout Comb, with its eclectic samples and live instruments. Ishmael Butler credits engineer, producer, and instrumentalist Dave Darlington for helping him create the album. He recounted, "Every song on Blowout is a mix of live instruments and samples. I would program the drums and tell someone, 'Yo, this is what I hear right here.' And then we'd record and get to slicing." Several music writers have described it as being hard to tell the difference between the samples and the live instruments because they blend so well. Several music writers have also noted Blowout Comb's vocals as being low in the mix. Ishmael Butler stated, "I read where George Clinton said the stuff that's inaudible the first couple of listens adds longevity to a record because it draws the person in. You might catch a word or a phrase on down the road, and that makes that record all the more intriguing." Ishmael also mentioned the vocals were to be woven in with the fabric of the music, not necessarily something that was on top. The record label was like, "Nobody can hear what you're saying," but I felt like if the music was engaging enough, then over time it would provide a richer listening experience. Many of the lyrics on Blowout Comb include references to the 5% Nation as well as the Black Panther Party, which weren't present on the group's previous album. Prior to recording, Ishmael took a trip to Los Angeles, where he stayed in Watts with several elders who were highly educated in black history. While on this trip, he absorbed many of their teachings and reflected on his parents, who were both Black Panther members. He incorporated many of these concepts into the album's lyrics, as he didn't want Digable Planet's Afrocentrism to get overlooked by the crossover appeal of their 1992 hit single, Rebirth of Slick, Cool Like That. Group member Mecca clarified it was time to be more direct on how he felt about things and the need to assess them. Blowout Comb also contains many references to urban culture, with a range of allusions to block parties, corner stores, public housing, barbershops, incarcerated freedom fighters, black nationalist texts, and African American artists. It also includes many references to Brooklyn, New York, as well as the borough's characteristics and credos. Hip-hop writer RHS wrote that, on Blowout Comb, the beloved Brooklyn borough, and by extension New York City as a whole, is lovingly depicted in all of its wondrous microcosmic complexity as a place of convergence and collusion. While several music writers and journalists have viewed Blowout Comb's lyrics as being more ambitious and hard to decipher, others found them to be more looser and less scripted than their previous album. In an interview with Los Angeles Times, Ishmael Butler explained, "We made a concerted effort to be more literal and less abstract. The first album is lyrically much more abstract. The language is so personal it's almost cryptic. Nobody who isn't real hip can really understand it." The Blowout Comb was a popular black grooming product in the 1970s when afros gained strong popularity. Digable Planets named the album after them because it means the utilization of the natural and a natural style. The album's liner notes depict advertisements for fake soul food restaurants and local events. The artwork was modelled after the distinct design of the official Black Panther newspaper, which Ishmael Butler came across one day while at a relative's house. Many pictures of Ishmael's trip to Los Angeles prior to recording the album are also shown in the artwork. Shortly after the release of Blowout Comb, Digable Planets disbanded in early 1995 due to the passing away of Mecca's parents, creative differences, and displeasure with the music industry. Ishmael Butler remarked, "We got into the music business at a time when it still had to be original. It was more about the music. Then it started to be more economic, more material, and that disillusioned us. Being young and everything like that, we just sort of copped out. Because we weren't really the industry types, it wasn't really like that for us, so we didn't feel like we were losing out on things." Ishmael also stated in an interview with Vibe that the group didn't like the music industry because they have nothing to do with art. After splitting up, the group members went on to record solo work and side projects with other artists. Years later, Craig Irving reformed Digable Planets for a reunion tour in 2004, and since then they have toured extensively. In 2005, they released a greatest hits compilation titled Beyond the Spectrum, The Creamy Spy Chronicles, which contains two newly recorded songs. One of the most entertaining albums of the 1990s, Blowout Comb by Digable Planets is one of the most impressive and exciting pieces of recorded music available for listening.